Let's start with our first news, Khamzat Chimaev and Nassourdine Imavov training, his knockout victory over Israel Adesanya. Now Nassourdine Imavov was asked about a potential fight against Khamzat Chimaev in a Russian interview with USA TK. Imavov made it clear that he has no real desire to fight Khamzat unless a championship belt is on the line. He pointed to their past training sessions, where he struggled against Khamzat's relentless grappling and often found himself stuck on his back. He acknowledged Khamzat's toughness and admitted that their past training together makes the fight less appealing to him unless a championship is at stake. Instead, Imavov turned his attention to Sean Strickland, a fighter who already holds a win over him. He emphasized that Strickland talks a lot and that settling the score is something he wants. Given Strickland's outspoken nature and history with Imavov, a rematch between them could bring plenty of intrigue, especially now that Imavov has taken out a former champion in Adnan Khamzat. If I have to, I'd like to fight him for the belt. Right now, neither of us have a belt. We're both contenders. We've trained together, and to be honest, he knows my game too well. I wouldn't want to fight him, but you know, if there is no choice, and if he is the champion, then I'd have to face him. I think we both deserve to fight for the belt. Imavov also said, I would love to have a rematch with Strickland. I know that I can win this fight, and also he talks too much. I want to shut him up once and for all. You will see a completely different Nassourdine in that fight. We fought 2 years ago. I had just moved up to 185 from 170, and I wasn't used to it yet. With Strickland and Dricus du Plessis set to clash for the middleweight title at UFC 312 next week, the division's future is up in the air. Imavov, who recently discussed his past training with Chimaev, hinted that a potential fight between them wouldn't happen unless it was for the belt. Meanwhile, Khamzat's name continues to circulate in the title picture. Do you think a matchup between Khamzat and Imavov could be in the cards? How do you see the middleweight division playing out, especially with DDP defending his belt against Strickland? Let us know your predictions. Moving on to second news, what's next for Israel Adesanya after his UFC loss? Israel Adesanya repeatedly insisted heading into UFC Saudi Arabia that he remains a force in the middleweight division, but Nassourdine Imavov may have closed the book on the last Stylebender's days as a title contender. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Adesanya faced Imavov in the headliner of yesterday's card, which marked the first time since 2019 that he was not competing in a title fight. The former middleweight champ looked pretty good early on, and he squashed a few takedown attempts from Imavov and fired back with strikes. But in round 2, Imavov sent the star to the deck with a right hook, and the fight was stopped as he was following up with punches. Some will argue that the fight was stopped a tad prematurely, but at the end of the day, the 35-year-old Adesanya has lost 3 straight bouts. Granted, those defeats have come against elite competition, but you do have to wonder if Izzy's days at the top have come to a close. After the loss, Adesanya told ESPN that he plans to chill and think about things, so it remains to be seen what that means. It's hard to imagine him walking away from the game at this point, even if he did make some serious money over the last couple of years. And Sandu shared a backstage video of an interaction between Izzy and Imavov, and it was nothing but respect from both fighters. Good fighter, respect man, thank you. Izzy later posted a video on social media, watching back the Nassourdine TKO, and this is what he had to say. Oh, that's how the game goes. I thought Izzy looked incredible right up until he got caught. He looked good, was picking him apart, staying on the outside. His takedown defense was incredible, and chopping that calf kick. You know, the whole first round, he couldn't have had a better first round. And then he got caught. Meanwhile, Imavov is knocking on the title shot door with Saturday's win. The 29-year-old is probably behind Khamzat Chimaev in terms of who will fight the winner of du Plessis versus Strickland 2, but given that he just took out the number 2 ranked Adesanya, a legend, his case for a title shot is extremely strong. Moving on to another news, Ilia Topuria runs into Conor McGregor. In a recent interview with Spanish outlet El Chiringuito, UFC featherweight champion Ilia Topuria shared the unsettling experience of running into Conor McGregor, revealing a sharp contrast between the fighter he once admired and the man he encountered in person. While El Matador acknowledged McGregor's family life, including his wife and children, he also expressed concern about the darker energy he felt. He alluded to McGregor's struggles, suggesting that the former champion seems more concerned consumed by issues like alcohol and drugs than the career-driven fighter he once was. Their interaction took place at a UFC event, and Topuria couldn't shake the sense of negativity that surrounded McGregor. He vividly recalled feeling an overwhelming urge to keep his distance. The vibe was so heavy that Ilia swore it felt like McGregor's aura came from hell, an energy he had never felt before. Even though Conor had been a childhood idol, Ilia said the meeting didn't resonate with him at all. The person McGregor had become was far removed from the figure he once looked up to, and it left him feeling disillusioned. I met Conor once. Yeah, look, I'm analyzing people as human beings. I can't really judge him because I don't know him, but when Conor was around, it was impossible to ignore the unsettling feeling. All I could think was, stay away, stay away. There was this palpable bad energy that surrounded him. It was as if his presence carried this darkness, like his aura came straight from hell. I couldn't get away from him fast enough. The vibe was just so negative, something I had never felt before in my life. The Conor I looked up to as a kid, the one I admired, isn't the same anymore. Meeting him didn't mean anything to me. He's changed, and all the admiration I had for him is gone now. What I thought of him back then doesn't even apply to who he is now. He is more focused on drugs and alcohol. What's next for Michael Page after his UFC win? The Nurmagomedov hype train was moving in overdrive heading into UFC Saudi Arabia, but Michael Venom Page and his unorthodox style derailed it all. Magomedov had some success early on with some thumping leg kicks, but Page with his elusive darting style began to take over the fight. While Magomedov never appeared to be in serious danger of being finished after 3 rounds of action, it was clear that Venom would be awarded the decision win. So what's next for Page? That's a good question. Leading up to the Saudi Arabia card, there was talk that if Page lost, it wouldn't really impact his UFC position. He moved up from welterweight to fight at middleweight, but now that Page has secured a victory over a middleweight contender who was undefeated heading into the card, maybe we could see MVP at 185 again. During the post-fight press conference, Page called out Leon Edwards, saying it would be a great fight for the United Kingdom. Again, the only one I ever really talk about is Leon Edwards, but that's more so at a specific location, so it's only for the UK, but it's not because of him. I just think the fight would be great for my fans over in the UK. Do you want to see Leon Edwards versus MVP during a UK card? Let us know down in the comments section below. MVP later went on to talk about fighting in the UFC and how different it is compared to fighting in Bellator. The question came up because he would have more finishes in Bellator, either knockouts or submissions, compared to fighting in the UFC. So far in the UFC, MVP is 2-1, and all of his fights have gone to decision. There is an effect of being in the UFC, the magnitude of the UFC brand, the event. I think that's what's kind of still weighing on me a little bit, and it's making me a little bit more hesitant. Whereas, you know, when I was at Bellator, there was no hesitation. I was in there. I was very sure of myself, but I don't know if I want it too much. I'm second guessing myself. I don't know what it is, but there is definitely a UFC effect. But the more comfortable I get, the more you're going to see the old MVP. Aljamain Sterling is stepping in to replace his good buddy and teammate Merab Dvalishvili as a coach on the Russian reality show Hype Global. However, this doesn't mean Sterling is returning to bantamweight. If you're not familiar with the show, Hype Global is essentially the Russian version of The Ultimate Fighter. Originally, Merab was set to coach opposite Petr Yan, and promotions for the show had already been running. However, Merab has since withdrawn from the program. As of now, the exact reason behind his decision to pull out has not been officially confirmed. Still, some speculate that Merab decided to back out after receiving significant backlash for agreeing to appear on the show in the first place. One possible reason for the controversy is the ongoing political tensions between Georgia, Merab's home country, and Russia. These tensions have remained high for years, and many have criticized Merab for initially agreeing to be a part of a Russian-based show. After Merab withdrew, one of the vice presidents of Hype Global issued a sharp statement, questioning whether the public truly understood why Merab was being heavily criticized. The vice president even asked, "Do you understand why Merab is being lit up by some observers, or do you think people should hold off until we learn the actual reason for his withdrawal?" Despite the controversy surrounding Merab's decision, Sterling seems excited about the opportunity to coach on the show. He recently posted on social media saying, "Going to be a fun few weeks. It's going to be interesting to see how the show unfolds with Yan and Sterling as coaches." For those who don't know, Aljo and Yan have a storied history. They fought twice, with Yan first losing to Sterling in their initial bout via DQ for an illegal knee, followed by a split decision loss in their second fight in 2023. What do you think about a potential Khamzat Chimaev versus Nassourdine Imavov matchup? Who do you think would win? Also, should Ilia Topuria fight Islam Makhachev? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We respect your opinion.